Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. The goal here is to review some of the common contradictions we have lived and have had various conversations about and how it impacts various areas of a child's growth. We invited different parents, business owners, and friends to have a candid conversation on how some of the contradictions we live contribute and or creates larger barriers to supporting our youth. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved.
I just love that beginning. It makes me smile so big every time.
I know. Here we go. Hello. Hello, Kristen.
Hi. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
New you, new me.
Yes.
Right.
And I like even numbers. So this is my year, 2024. I like it.
You know what? I do. I like an even number.
I do too. It's
even
got to
on
be
the volume
or on the 0 or 5.
Yep.
So basically, I just discriminate against 7, 3, and 9.
You know what? You're the other person. You're my person because I seem to discriminate against the same numbers.
That is awesome.
Interesting because when I go and I do the volume on the TV and it's either 12.
Yes. Yep.
It's either I can go up to 12 or 14 or 15, but I can't be on that 3 for whatever godforsaken reason. And I don't understand why we're at 11.
Definitely not.
So
that's awesome. Oh, I love it.
I'm so glad. So, okay. So for anybody who is going to watch this or who is watching now, we're back. I decided to bring it back. It was very interesting. I wasn't sure. I wasn't positive, but thanks to you and a couple other people, we decided to bring it
I like stirring the pot. I just, me. Who leaves special education to become an advocate,
I know, but and it's funny because I actually did I did a podcast I did a podcast earlier this week, and I am the proverbial pot stirrer, right? Or as I would like to tell people, I will smack as many beehives as necessary as I walk past them. Because my thing is that we can't solve things we are not willing to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hence the reason why Breaking Through the Contradictions was one of those things that really needed to have happened, right? Because everybody keeps sidestepping things, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And as long as we continue to sidestep, there's no actionable items for us to do, any task or any way for us to overcome. It's an opportunity, not a problem, a challenge, or a horrible situation. It's just an opportunity to learn, improve, and do it better next time. That's why. So yes. I'm glad that you're here with me. I think you're going to hang out with me a few more, you're going to hang out with us more often this year. So I'm excited.
I'm excited that you and Christine are having me in and that it's going to be the 3 of us and we're going to get to talk about some good things. We've got some good plans, I think.
Yes, we do. So this is what so for this one, we're going to go ahead and have a conversation, just a general conversation about one of the things that we're going to toggle back and forth into this programming. And the reason why is because a lot of people do not realize what is happening.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Nobody has any idea.
I don't think they know. They just don't know. No. House Republican funding bill kicks teachers out of classrooms, takes away job opportunities, and harms women and children. Yes. That is what I have in my hand.
Yep.
And that is part of what we're going to discuss today, because this is going to be part of our general conversation for the entire year.
Yes.
And the reason why is because everyone continues to talk about funding money schools, funding money taxes schools.
Yes.
But when we have to really break down what that means to the parents, what that means to the schools, and from our perspectives, because we have two different perspectives. We may be in an alignment with a lot of different things, but we have two different perspectives. And inside those perspectives, other people have them as well. And it's good to kind of churn it up enough for people to say, wait, I can do that. And because that's the goal.
Well, and even just knowing your rights, one of the things that I'm running into as I delve more and more into my special education and advocacy is parents don't know what they don't know. And, so they go all year not getting a service or getting something that they shouldn't have and don't know to speak up and say, this isn't right.
Right.
And that's the part that frustrates me. I know you and I've talked ad nauseum about that, but
it's very nauseating, just so we're clear.
It is. It's so frustrating. But the law is scary. I still can't believe that until you and Christine brought it to my attention that I wasn't aware, because I check daily on News for Education, and I don't know how that has slipped through. But I guess that's the key part of it, get through.
This, and you know what, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, because we don't know where to go and look for it and things like that. But when you stumble on it, you grab hold of it and look.
Yep.
You have to hold on and understand that they're going to try to drown you while trying to figure this out. So I kind of see myself as being hooking onto that whale as they dive deeper to try to get me off of their back. And that's kind of what's about to happen.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. So for those who do not know, in the midst of a teacher shortage, Republicans are kicking more than 220,000 teachers from the classroom. So what they're saying is for 2024, the bill provides $163 billion, a cut of $63.8 billion, a 28% below 2023. This year's Republican allocation was the lowest for labor, health and human services, education, and related agencies bills since 2008. This is what this means for some. This is some of what it means, okay? So it decimates support for children in K through 12 elementary schools and early childhood education. Okay, so I'm going to point out the three that made me just stand at attention. So that was one, because why would you kill your future? What are we doing there?
It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
So you take on a 5-year-old, okay, and then you take on a 5-year-old as a kinder, then you pump 15 years of education in him, he or she, right?
Yep.
And so if you add 15 on top of the 5, that brings us to the 20 that puts them in workforce, right? It puts them in the workforce. And if you decimate their education, then how are they going to be able to support themselves, to have a job, to be financially literate, or even best, the minimum, sign your name, do simple addition, open up a bank account. You can't do half of those things because your education has been destroyed.
Well, and just the sheer nonsense that schools already are bleeding, from the sides because they are just trying to hold it together. And now we're going to take away a third of our funding.
Yep.
Third of our funding. I mean, 28% cut. We're talking almost a third. Yep. Now, people might be like, oh, she's exaggerating, but let's round that up. I mean, let's be real about that. That's a huge percentage of the budget.
It is. And a lot of it, and so it just makes me wonder kind of what are we doing? Why there are certain areas that are under attack in a way that it feels like an attack. Now, for all those people who said, you're using the wrong words, I'm here to tell you, it kind of feels like an attack. So your intention may not be to attack these groups of people, but in all actuality, that's kind of what's happening. Because even when you go to one of the other ones that bothered me, which was surrenders to ongoing public health crisis and mental health, opioid use, HIV, AIDS, and health disparities.
That just sickens me when I read that. Sorry, there's a problem, but we're going to surrender to it and we're not taking it on anymore.
So is that what? So
that's what I read it as.
Right. It looks like we're going to abandon it.
Yeah, we're not going to fund or be a part of this.
So mental health mental health challenges are created for in multiple arenas and for multiple reasons. One of them being how how they approach the mental illness and the fact that they're actually causing it. So an abnormal amount of stress, so much pressure. The reason why some of the parents are leaving their kids in the back seats is that I was thinking about this report I had to do. I had to hurry up and get there because my manager or my boss needed it before before 9 a.m. Right. But I got to drop this kid off. But in your head, you were like, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. But then at some point in time, we almost kind of forget that we're carrying a child.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that adds to the mental health. But then if we talk about the opioids use, that's ridiculous.
Well, the last part of that, the last two words is what scares me the most in that sentence. Health disparities. In other words, if you're not healthy, we're not helping you. So if it's anything new, any new diagnoses or anything mental health related that you've had covered for years, sorry, you're on your own. I'm sorry, but that's insanity right now after we've just come out of literally a global pandemic in which we are still dealing with the consequences to our mental and social, emotional, and physical health. I mean, everybody is still dealing. Just saw today and had a conversation earlier with Brian. His uncle has COVID. You never know. It's
my mom got over it.
It's just insanity. That health disparities, when I read that, so in other words, anyone that needs help. And then I don't know about you, but the other one that hit me and struck my chord, abandons college students and low-income workers.
Yes, that. Okay, so that's number 2. Abandons college students and low-income workers trying to improve their lives through higher education.
Yep, sickens me. So in other words, anyone that's trying to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get out of anything.
We no longer have bootstraps.
From anything. Nope. Sorry.
We no longer have
nothing there for you.
That was the one for there. So and that means that they're going to take away. Oh, so you know what? Who do I need to bring on? Kathy. Kathy needs to come on this. So Kathy, I know you'll be you and I need to have this conversation. Part of what we need to have a conversation about is as far as a college student, because Kathy runs into challenges where people, they don't think that they can get into college. They don't think that they can do these things, financial reasons, support reasons, things like that. But now we have an abandonment of a college education.
Yep.
So, I mean, that becomes a problem. One of the other things I want to touch on is opioid use. And the reason why I want to make sure I come back to this is because they're going to surrender to the opioid use. So that means to us, if it truly means abandon and leave alone and let it do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
That's bothersome because one of our school districts here in Texas just gave out Narcan to all of their high school parents because they had lost 2 kids in the same school year in a very short period of time due to opioid overdoses. And so their answer to the problem was to actually to give Narcan to each of the parents who showed up. So it was first come, first serve. And then they came in and gave it all out, and they did it for a number of days. So a lot of people came and picked it up. And so that's a twofold situation.
Right.
One,
that's where we are.
It's opioids, right? So somehow or another, they got on these pills and got caught and stuck, and now they're addicted to that. The second one is also mental health. So there are certain things that they give you that actually create that. And then because you're struggling with anxiety and things like that, you actually get some of those, and that actually helps to jumpstart that. So that's the one.
That's a good point. And the other piece too that kills me, especially after we've just cut Roe versus Wade out, is that we're going to turn around and slash all the funding for health for women by cutting the maternal and child service programs for health. Getting rid of health services and contraception. Contraception is one thing, but services for health is another. Adding all of these different components to how they can decide whether or not abortion is okay, and by partisan decisions that go there, just it kills me. And you have to have these babies, but we're again hands off. We're not going to help you, not going to take care of you.
I don't think that's real. I don't think that's true, because even when they say, okay, so if you meet the eligibility for this type of medical care, that one woman that, I don't know if she hit the news on your side, but she hit it on our side, where she was attempting to get an abortion here in Texas, and because it was medically necessary.
It was on the news here,
and they said yes, and then when she went, they said no.
Yep. And something with getting stopped at the border too. It may not be the same story, but I've heard up in Seattle, same issue, somebody trying to go into Canada, crossing into Canada and being stopped because they were pregnant. I don't know the whole story there, but it's just insanity to me.
It is.
We're going to make you do this way, but we're not going to fund it. We're going to, make you teach certain ways, but we're not going to give you teachers. We're going to pull supports out of the building and cut the number of positions you have. We talked about this recently. It's very misleading when you look at a school's report card and you see like the student to teacher ratio, because this last school where I worked, the student teacher ratio is 13-1, which sounds brilliant. Sounds wonderful. That would be great if I only had 13 students. But in all actuality, it was truly several self-contained special ed classes that had 4 adults for 5 students, and then an 8th grade math teacher with 36 kids in the room and no aide. So that's where it wasn't clear on that report card. Yes, but it's not 13-1 when you go in and look at it. It doesn't play out the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. All right, so we have that. So we have all of those, and we just so we're clear, there are a couple more things on here. So here's where it starts to get a little crazy. In the midst of a teaching shortage, they have introduced a bill that would kick 220,000 teachers from the classroom. Yes. We are witnessing a widespread attack on public education that should horrify all of us. Regardless of age or stage in life, this bill means you cannot count on government for any help. So when they wrote that, and that's in bold, right?
Yes. And that was said by the Appropriations Committee ranking member, Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut.
Yep. She was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So making diapers more expensive, it decimates access to preschool education and job training. So what do you want? What is the goal here? What are we doing? Right. But I guess maybe we should have known better, or should have been paying closer attention, because I think the signs were there, but some of us were calling foul, and then the ones who were calling foul were being quieted, but no one was really talking much about what was possible or anything like that. So I guess it went on deaf ear.
Yes. And I think we got distracted by other things. I think I'm going to speak on behalf of myself and refer everyone back to the very opening of our show, that this is my opinion and my opinion only. I speak on nobody else's behalf. But I think this Republican bill that Republicans have put together, they are trying to do everything they can to make our systems crumble. So they're setting us up for failure. But what they don't realize is they're screwing themselves in the long run, because they're screwing who's going to be taking care of us when we're the ones that are needing it.
That's what I've been trying to say. That right there.
I mean, when I look closer at just the educational sliver of the bill and how it gets into Title I, cuts all of the Title I funding. And for those that don't know what Title I funding is, that's for students that are in a lower socioeconomic bracket and typically have free and reduced lunch as part of the program, they're in. And those schools typically have more supports, several counselors on staff, more mental health support for students. A lot of students that attend Title I schools are kids that have trauma and need support on a regular basis. So, community wraparound support and that kind of thing as well. But it just Title I there blows my mind. And then you keep looking and you're like, wait, this is one of several things listed. It's like 9, 10, 11 things. It keeps going and going and going. And every one of them shocked me a little bit more.
Yes.
I don't know if you found that. Like, it was like, it got progressively worse. The more I read, it was like,
yes,
what are you thinking?
Yes. Because it almost, to me, as I was reading through it, it almost made it seem as though we're trying to get back to the Stone Age. You're trying to make it back to where that no one like had anything, that you're stripping away everything. Because when you look at it, so Title I is what you were talking about. So in here, Department of Education, the bill includes a total of $57.1 billion in discretionary appropriations for education, a cut of $22.5 billion. Again, a 28% drop, right? But you're talking about the bill eliminates funding for promised neighborhoods, eliminates for social emotional learning. Okay, look here. I don't know what we're doing today, tomorrow, or never. All of us have social emotional communication. That's all we know how to do. But for you, children don't know how to control their feelings. They don't know what to do with those things. And then you're supposed to help them navigate what's appropriate, what's the appropriate response to a nasty thing that's being said to you. But instead you're saying, okay, well, we don't really care about that. So they're eliminating the funding for that. And oh my gosh, I was just like, eliminate child care access means parents in school.
Right? And yet almost every home is 2-income homes now because you can't survive without it.
That too, but wait a second. What about those parents where it's a single parent household?
That was the other thing I'm thinking.
2 jobs to do that.
That's what I was thinking. Yep. That are pulling double weight and not. It sickens me that it's going to sneak through. That's the thing that bothers me, that nobody knows. On the flip side of that, people are like, oh, okay, well, we're helping all those other people, all these people that need help. Oh, all these people that need help. Part of the bill is cutting out for magnet schools. Well, magnet schools are for gifted kids. We're cutting those too, people. Sorry.
So let's be clear.
Nobody's getting anything.
It's not one group or another. It's across the board. So gifted and AP people, these students are losing a cut of $139 million below the enacted level. That's crazy. Service community schools are being cut. Wait. One of the things so this thing bothered me so much, because even when you go into the labor, first of all, they're eliminating funding for youth job training.
Yep. So, okay. All those kids we're not sending to college. We're also not going to train them for jobs. And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. But the one thing I'm working really hard to find. Oh no, I know why I can't find it, because it was in a really weird place. Okay. So I want to jump to the back only for a moment. So here's the thing. Oh, that's just horrible. This bill includes $28 million for Minority HIV/AIDS Initiative, a cut of $24 million.
There's a cut in here
for Minority Health, a cut of $49 million. Office of Women's Health, cut of $49 million. So if you are Black, if you are minority, female, period, you are SOL.
Absolutely. And it even says here there's a cut for seniors, low-wage seniors. $405 million cut that would eliminate community service positions supporting low-wage seniors.
There you go. This is the one that bothered me. I put star behind this. This bill, this is these. Okay, so policy writers is another thing, right? So
Yes.
let's be clear. This is not a political conversation. This
No.
is the start of the conversation in order to understand how this is going to impact this child, the family, and the community in which they reside.
Well, and so, it is a political conversation from the standpoint of it's a Republican bill. It's they're the ones putting it forward.
Yep. That is all. This is just to tell you what's out there. So policy writers. So there's very common for you to say, okay, what else can we put in this bucket to fill up the tote type of a thing, right?
Yep.
So you'll have these writers. And the first writer on this, the bill includes multiple policy writers to block the Department of Labor from implementing regulatory changes that would improve working conditions for workers in various industries. Do you know what that means?
Read that again, louder. Read that fine print. I mean, people, wake up. I have been one of those people for years that has said, I have so much, admiration for those that speak up and do things, and those trailblazers that changed things in our history. And then this stuff started happening, and I'm watching and waiting and watching and waiting. And I thought, I can't not talk. I can't not speak up about this. I can't just let this all happen. And it's okay to speak out and say that, guys, this is not okay. This is going to wreck our community if this bill goes through in every way, on every end. From
it's hard to sit back. It's hard to sit back and do that. But my thing with that is when you sit there and so some of us are instigators, right? There are people who actually, and instigators are not troublemakers. What they are is that they are waking people up. They're part of the group that awake. So wake up, y'all, pay attention. That's what happens. So those are those instigators, right? You also have ones who are record keepers, who are sitting there taking the notes and saying, well, they did that, and this is what's happening. And we recognize that. We do have those soldiers that'll run out into the battlefield at any given point in time.
Yeah.
So we all have a part to play. So just play your part, but understanding that you here to let you know what part you're supposed to play, right? Your heart lets you know where you're supposed to play.
Yeah.
But if your heart tells you to do something and you say, but I don't want to get involved, that's not my business. This is not for me. I want to read this again. This bill includes multiple policy writers to block the Department of Labor from implementing regulatory changes that will improve working conditions for workers in various industries. That means, think about it like this. Miners, you know how they always get stuck down in there or whatever? Now they won't have to build it as robust as what they were doing before.
Right.
And so now you're more prone to accidents. In manufacturing, there are certain rules and things you have to have, or they have those signs that says how many days has it been since the last incident. Well, you will have that number that will never stay at zero at some point if someone doesn't feel as though they do not wish to pay that money to keep those those policies and procedures in place for your safety and well-being.
That one flashed at me because I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, as you know. Actually, technically, I live in Leland, which is just across the bridge from Wilmington. And Wilmington is its own island by itself. It connects at the very top. But, in order to get into Wilmington, there are 2 bridges, unless you go all the way up and around, on the highway, which takes 45 minutes and you're going 12 miles, But it's just crazy. And right now, both bridges are under construction because they're both out of compliance. And it's like, oh, okay, so we're driving over bridges daily that are not safe, but now we're not even going to check them anymore and regulate that.
Not at all. So it's really, So those things, it's just, so it makes you wonder, because if you, my mom used to tell us when we were little, you give an inch and you guys will take a mile, right? Yes. But that's very much true in a lot of cases. So if you think, so it's just identifying the limits, right?
Yep.
It's saying, Okay, so if you're willing to give me $5 back, are you willing to give me 10?
Yeah.
If you're willing to give me 10, are you willing to give me 15?
Maybe next time you'll give me 20. Yeah.
Right. And that's what it is. And so when I look at these things, it's because the person who reads it is the one who the way they understand it is the way they will implement.
Yeah.
Right. So if you understand that, oh, I don't have to educate your kinder anymore. Guess what's going to happen? You're no longer you're going to say, I want to educate, I want to play with you, but I want to play that game more. So I'll play with you for an hour and I'll play with the game for 2 hours. Oh, I want to play with you, but I like this better over here. So I'll play with you for 45 minutes and I'll play my game for 2 hours. And then I'll go and have this conversation with someone else for an hour. Right. So you're chipping away. And then when it comes down to it and somebody says, my kid doesn't know their ABCs or this is not happening, the first thing you get to say is, it's not mandatory.
Right.
And that is why keeping your kids safe is having the challenges that they're having in order to get into the schools. Because if it's not mandated, everybody believes it's not necessary.
Well, and if we can cut that program, then obviously it's not important either. That's the other message it sends is this is no longer a priority or important to us. Right. Again, my former district here threw out the SEL curriculum this year and it's paid for. They paid for a 3-year contract, but they threw it out after 2 years because the school district changed. The Board of Ed positions changed and they said, no, we're not going to do it. Okay, well, we've already paid for it though.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So now we're just not going to, we're not going to pay for it moving forward. It's not even a priority now. You don't even have to do it.
Right. See, that's so you actually showed what happens when people understand one thing and then what starts to happen. Well, I don't have to. So I have to do it Monday through Friday, but Monday I was able to get away with it. So I don't do it. And then Tuesday I was able to get away with it. So I didn't do it. Right.
Well, and as a classroom teacher, I can say now that I'm not in the classroom position, as a classroom teacher, anything I could take off my plate, perfect. Take it off my plate. So if that's the message being sent, that's what now I know, better than that to not exclude SEL. But if it's something that a teacher's battling with trying to fit everything in and suddenly they're being told, oh, well, you can take that away. They're going to take it away because it's one less thing to worry about. So that's the other thing I struggle with is we're not teaching our teachers how to infuse this in and incorporate SEL. It shouldn't be a separate silo. We shouldn't be teaching SEL as a subject area. It should be infused into all day, every day in what we do. It's just SEL is teaching people to be good people. It's just teaching people how to learn themselves and how to regulate themselves and how to regulate and be aware of others and show empathy for others and build relationships and problem solve. That's life. That is we're talking about the central nervous system of life.
Right. Yes, for sure.
Nope, not important anymore. Figure it out on your own, guys. Oh, we're going to take away half the staff that were helping you do it. So really figure it out.
That's tough. It's one of those things. It's very challenging. I just kind of don't understand what's happening with and what the choices we're making, because here's my thing. Like we talked about before, if you add 15 years on top of a 5-year-old, that person is the person that you're going to hire for any number of things. That's either going to be your intern, your teacher's assistant, your, the CVS employee. And by the way, I'm really sick and tired of these doggone kids taking on positions where it's acceptable for them to be rude, disrespectful, and without customer service. And if you are worried about, if you think for 1 minute that your children are going to be better than what they have been trained to do, you are sadly mistaken.
Nope.
Yeah, this is, again, we are witnessing a change in education and how it's impacting our workforce. And if we don't hurry up and figure that part out, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where so remember when those videos were coming out where you would see a caregiver hitting and abusing an aging person?
Yes. Yes.
That's what we're about to go to, because we did not. So for me, in my situation, and the way I feel about it is that based off of how our steps, how our journeys have been, how they've been going along the way, is consistently validating for a lot of the children and the young adults that they are not the most important, or that it's not, they're not considered
Right.
in implementing anything new.
Right.
So if they can turn around and say, you don't see me, you don't hear me, you don't acknowledge me, you don't care about me, then what's going to happen is that and it's time for them to feed you and clothe you and take care of you, they're going to stick you in a home. They're going to go ahead and allow you to be buried in Potter's Field. They're going to be, every time they come near you, they're going to punch you and beat you. Why? Because if you did not teach them how to nurture, if you did not nurture them in a way that allows them to show love, they're not going to show that love back to us.
Yeah.
And we are community people, like humans, that's what if we were meant to be all alone, I guarantee you we would be all alone. We wouldn't have that unexplained desire to couple, right?
Absolutely. And build communities and have that traditions and culture that go along with all of those things that are just almost innate in us, that
it's just part of who we are.
Exactly. And it's part of the sense of belonging and community. And, when I look specifically, and me, I'm going to pick apart that educational part, looking at.
Oh, that's where we're going to dance.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know we're pouncing on that. I'm terrified when I think about just the repercussions of this literally is from birth to death. It affects every age group, but it slams K-12. And K-12 education, it was hard. It is hard enough. We know it's hard enough. People have been saying it. I don't know how they do it for years. And yet here we are having this conversation in 2024. And we're going to take even more away from what these kids need and what these schools need and the communities that are supporting these schools. We're going to take those things away too. I mean, none of it makes any plausible sense to me, because it's going to hurt everybody. It's not going to just hurt the Democratic Party or the Independent Party or, whoever party. It's going to hurt everybody.
Right.
This is a bill that affects everybody. No matter what age, unless you're, and I'll be blunt, unless you're a rich white kid.
There you go.
And,
I'm so glad you said that, because one of our conversations, no, I'll say it. I don't have a problem with that. You talking to the wrong person, because I said it.
No, I know you'll say it. Oh, I know.
What I'm about to say is, so as we're doing this prep work for this, they said something, she mentioned something about white flight, and I started laughing, and I was like, well, I guess that will be one of our conversations. We got 50 of them coming, so one of them is going to be that.
And neighborhood schooling that goes with that. Yep, absolutely, because that's happened here. North Carolina is setting such a good tone for that by having neighborhood schooling. It's been a great message to our communities.
Okay, sometimes I'm a little slow. That's sarcasm, yes?
Yes, very much sarcasm. Trying to be as nice as I can.
Kristen said,
right?
You're like, no, that's not what I'm.
No, I was literally saying the opposite of that. It's awful. Like
awful.
The neighborhood schooling and the way they've broken things down in New Hanover County in particular, they went back to neighborhood schooling right before I joined the district. And it put everybody back into segregated neighborhoods. It was like, what in the world are they thinking by doing this? And then everybody's funded the same way. No. You can't do that. That's not the same. You can't, you've got to look at what you've got going on. Now, I worked at a magnet school. So my school pulled from 10 communities, but my school was in the hood. My school was located on 10th and Castle, and everybody knew what that meant. I'll just tell you what, my school had a live, shooter situation last year, 6th day of school, that went on for 4 hours. And the kids were like, any old day, this is normal. This is just normal routine around here.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, so no big deal.
I did a like I said, a podcast earlier this week with Dr. Laura Lynn, and she was like, you know that there are 7 million children that's supposed to be in school and they're not. And remember, I asked that question. Save our kids. I say it all the time. Why? What is the decline? I said, we can see the decline in numbers. Something's wrong. And I was like, what is the problem? And nobody said anything until she finally said something. She finally said today.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she didn't answer me before. That's not what I'm saying. Someone finally answered the question, and she said 7 million children do not want to go to school. They're afraid.
They're refusing.
They're refusing to go to school. Bullying problems, education problems. There's a ton of issues and challenges that those students have, and they've made a decision to not return back to school. So when I said in 2014, when I first began, we were at 55 million. And now we're down to 50. What did I say? Like 53.
That's insane.
No. What is the number? I forget. Oh, no, I don't forget what the number is. They're right here. But remember, we're supposed to drop to 46.9 by 2031. So, in 2031, think about this. 2031, the number will drop to 46.9 million children. That's what they're estimating. But it's also the same time frame that there is going to be more adults over the age of 65 than there are children under the age of 18. So that significant drop lets you know, one, there is a problem, and then two, the numbers are going down a lot faster than what we thought, because based off, it's a response to what is happening currently in education. Let's be clear.
For sure. 100% is something that I was watching an episode of something earlier on TV, and somebody said, how much does it cost to raise a child? It's on upwards of $250,000 to raise a child these days. I always thought if I didn't get married and have kids young, then I would adopt and just be a single mom. And then I got to the age where it became like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it. And it was like, I can't afford to do this. What am I thinking? There's no way I can afford it. And since then, I've participated in GoFundMes for families that are trying to adopt, because they have to raise so much money to adopt a kid. And it's like, we've got kids sitting in shelters. Literally 1 out of 4 kids in downtown Wilmington doesn't have a home. And we've got parents willing to take them, and we're making them pay to jump.
No, it's red tape to get them. And they're always,
that's what I mean.
People. And it's not, first of all, everything should not be monetized. That's problematic. And I hate with a passion. Do not put a dollar amount on a child's life.
Nope.
That is one of the reasons. That is the one. You talk about pet peeve, girl. Flames out my ears. I am sick and tired of when you go into the court system and they say, hey, so we're going to grant you the divorce, but then your child is only worth $50 a month or $150 a month in child support. But by the way, we don't care if the mom or dad comes and spends time with the child. We only want you to pay them money.
It's all about money.
Right? And so social emotional starts right there. Right? Social emotional starts right there. And then
all those kids are going through already, because of that divorce, they're going through stuff that needs to be dealt with. And now
then you put a dollar amount on top of them, and now they feel like all I'm worth is the amount of money my parent sends in for me that I don't see.
If they even send it.
If they send it,
if I'm not worth it.
Is it enough?
Yeah,
it is not. In most cases, it's not enough, right? So
for sure,
all these different things, and so that added stress to all of this, and that's why I say that bothers me a ton. So for you to charge somebody to purchase a baby and you got all these people who are more than willing to help, there's something else going on there. I just don't get it. I've always, and I've been walking around for probably like 6 months. I just don't get it. I don't understand. What am I doing wrong? What am I not understanding? What is wrong with this situation? Type of a thing.
And you look at certain home environments and think, how have they kept their children with the way they treat them or with whatever's going on? Or you hear about stories later that are just absolutely heart-wrenching. And you're like, how did that happen? And we didn't know. But
it happens.
It's going to increase even more too if this bill goes through.
This is true.
Everybody.
So, yep, for sure. So, like I said, the National Center of Education and Statistics, and the 49.4 million students in fall of 2020 and 2021. So, over a period of 9 years, you've dropped over 5 million children, right? And so they're not there, and we know that they're not in the schools. But then we know that by 2031, the fall, you're looking at 46.9. So all of this stuff is really important. I didn't realize how much the two podcasts were going to be able to talk to one another this year, especially this year.
It's going to overlap very well.
Definitely. It's going to definitely do one of those things, but we want to go ahead and start working on these contradictions. You can't tell somebody you love them and then you bash them with how you execute. So I'm a firm believer is that of your actions will prove what your words are saying or how your words are landing. So your words can land on me, but now your actions will validate one way or another, whether those words are good.
100%.
That's the contradiction. So a lot of the stuff is we're going to be talking about things, these contradictions and the things that are going to be harmful to the child's development. And we're going to do a little bit of a thing this time where we're going to go back and forth. So we talked a little bit about the bill that's being proposed now as to how we're going to do this. And then we're going to take each one of these subjects and we're going to kind of explore them in a way that's going to be helpful to all of the people who are listening. Yes. One of the things I never want to do is dump on you all of this information and make you feel as though there is no place. There's no options. Right. There are options. There's options that we love. There's options that we hate. And then there's options that we can just go along with it. But at the end of the day, every single one of us has a choice and an option in this. And when we have enough information, we can make sound decisions that are going to be helpful and impactful for all. So that's that's kind of what I want to say to that. And so I'm just excited the fact that you're here. You get to join our my little crazy.
It's gonna be fun. I mean, I'm clearing my schedule where I can because I want to make sure I can come as much as possible. I think the thing too, I just want to tag on with you there is you get what you pay for. So we can pay for it now or can pay for it later. And if people don't want to pay now, then they're going to suffer the consequences of that down the road if this bill happens.
I love that. You know why? It's another one that says you can change the people or change the people. But no matter what happens, you still have to change the people. Yep. It would have, when they first said it to me, I was like,
wait a minute.
I don't know what the heck is wrong with you, but you're using the same word.
That's not how that works.
I was in English class. You're not allowed to do that. Right? But then as I understood what they meant, I got it. Right. Yep. So it is very, very true. So you either change the person and their behaviors and what they do, or you change the person into instead of it being John, let it be Mary. Because you got to change the person because no matter what happens, the change has to happen. So the change is going to happen regardless of whether or not they change their behavior or you change the person who behaves to your liking.
Yep.
And the same thing, pay for it now or pay for it later. No matter which way you look at it, you pay for it. So that's a late fees, right?
Yep, absolutely. And it's going to hurt more later in that late fee when you're 80 and the people taking care of you never finished school or learned how to self-regulate or have any social emotional learning, skills to be able to, work with you as a human being in the way that you deserve to be treated. We're worried about how our elderly community is treated now. What's going to happen if we take away the regulations of the people that we're expecting to fill those jobs. I mean, who wants to do that job in the first place? And then you're going to treat them like crap.
Yep.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's teachers. I mean, I love teaching. It is 100% where my heart is. I 100% have always been public school, 100% all the way. I will support you. For the first time in my life, the last 2 years, I've said, no, I'm done with this. I'm not going to be a part of this mess anymore.
Yeah.
I got to get out and figure out how to help from the outside because it's killing me to be on the inside. And to all my friends and family with kids suffering, pull them out now because it's just going to get worse.
It's just getting worse. Look, you change the people or you change the people.
Yep.
No matter what happens, you will change the people.
I love that.
That's where you're doing. You're like, okay, I can't solve it on the inside. I've got to try to solve it from the outside. Maybe I would have better luck, so to speak, with it.
Yes.
But it's a hot mess.
Yep.
So this is great for our first one for the first week of the year. Oh, good Lord.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only the 4th. How is it only 4 days in and I'm already like, wait a minute.
You know, that's that hangover.
Yeah, it is. It's that holiday hangover for sure. And I keep telling myself, okay, Monday, it's back to normal. Like this week's still been wonky and different with New Year's. So,
but it'll be good.
We'll get there.
So I don't know. We're going to talk about something so what we're going to talk about next week, we'll go ahead and put that out there later. But we do have a lot of good topics coming up, including talking about the bill and educating more on to the families and parents who may not truly understand what education looks like when you are only dropping off or just, so we're going to have good conversations about and breaking through some of those contradictions that you have been given as well as have heard over time. So it's not just about what we're doing in our households, because remember, I'm a firm believer of co-parenting, and your co-parent is actually your school. So that's how I look at it. All right, Kristen. So it's time for us to sign off so we can go ahead and continue our evening. So
sounds good. Sounds good.
Again,
Happy Friday Eve.
Happy Friday Eve. I know. So until next time, your word, same time, same place. Oh yeah, we changed our time. So let's be clear.
Oh yeah.
Change our time. It's going to be at 3:10 Central, 4:10 Eastern every Thursday. So until then, words are power. Remember to use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.